this was a long and pretty powerful case made by Mr. Hughes. How did you react to reading it?
Well, honestly, I've been harboring some of the same concerns for a long time about Facebook's market power and Facebook's sort of influence over society. You know, as Chris points out, they own 4 platforms that have over 1 billion monthly active users. And the influence they have over the ideas that we see, the information that we share, the things that are deemed important, things that are deemed truthful, et cetera, is extreme. In addition to that, you know, as someone who lives in the startup world, I do think that Facebook's dominance has stifled innovation in the social networking space. And I think that, honestly, antitrust scrutiny is warranted. I don't know what the right answer is, but I think that antitrust scrutiny is certainly warranted.
So, Ali, I wonder, do you think that the U.S. should then shift to a European standard of considering harm to competition versus harm to consumers? And is there any other way to do this other than that explicit shift?
Well, I think there's been harm to both, honestly. I mean, I think Chris points out that it's not just, you can't measure harm to consumers only by looking at a monopoly's effect on prices. I think we pay for Facebook in other ways. How else can you accurately
do it?
Well, we pay for Facebook in other ways in terms of, you know, the data that we give it, in terms of the time and attention and sort of lock-in that it has over us and over society, in terms of its ability to sway what people think and sway elections. So I think that just the standard of price is too simple. And I think that, you know, beyond that, I think the competitive impact also should be examined. But again, I'm not an antitrust expert. I just think that a call like this is, if anything, overdue. And I think some antitrust scrutiny is certainly justified and important.
I mean, I get that Facebook is a lot larger and has many more users and advertisers than Twitter, but I mean, shouldn't Twitter be regulated in a similar way that Facebook is? It has the data and also, you know, has all the problems with interference in elections and everything else that Facebook gets scrutinized for, also sells advertising and ultimately user data, does it not?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think the sector as a whole should be regulated. I think we need new rules and laws around privacy and what these platforms can and can't do that apply to all of them. But I don't think any of the other platforms, be it Twitter or Snap or anyone else, has accumulated the kind of market power that Facebook has been as acquisitive in terms of buying, you know, the WhatsApps and the Instagrams of the world, and has sort of consolidated as much influence over social networking as Facebook has. I think Chris's estimate is Facebook's platforms control 80% of all the ad dollars on social media, and that's likely to increase, not decrease, as the ad networks on WhatsApp and Instagram grow.
But, Ali, it seems that if you can make the argument for breaking up Facebook, the argument is equally strong for breaking up Amazon because of its influence in e-commerce, Alphabet for its influence in search and just how things are found on the open web. Do you end up breaking up practically every really large company in Silicon Valley if you start down this road?
Listen, I don't think so. I think these businesses and markets are all really different. And I'm not trying to single out Facebook and say nobody else deserves scrutiny along the same lines. But, you know, Chris's article made a pretty compelling case for antitrust scrutiny of Facebook. There may also be a compelling case for other companies. But the one thing I'm uncomfortable with, you hear sometimes politicians talk about big tech as if it's one thing, as if the influence of all of these companies is the same or their market power is the same. I would argue in commerce, the world is much more fragmented, online commerce. Even though Amazon is the big gorilla, the world is much more fragmented than it is in social networking. So, you know, perhaps Amazon, you know, deserves scrutiny too. Certainly, you know, I'm sure it'll come their way down the line. But I think the case around Facebook is particularly compelling at this point in time.